Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be showing you how I'm getting my Integra steering rack prepared to be properly depowered. Then I'm going to be swapping it into my EG. And the whole reason I am swapping in an Integra steering rack over the stock one in the EG is if you have a power steering EG rack, the steering ratio is 3.5, and on the Integras it is 2.98, so shorter ratio, better for track driving, less turning on the track. As you can see on this rack, I've already kind of got some things ready on it. I have the outer tie rods off on both sides, and I am replacing those. And now what I'm going to be doing is taking the inner tie rods off and these hard lines off. And to rebuild this when I get to that point after it's been depowered, I've already got new tie rod ends by Moog. These are kind of nice OEM replacement ones where they have a nice boot on there, and they're already pre-grease filled from the factory. And then of course new boots, because the ones that came off this were severely ripped and in bad condition, and this came off a 94 Integra from a salvage yard, so who knows how long they were even on there for. To give a little explanation about how the depowering of these racks works, when you take a power steering rack and you're no longer running a power steering system on it, or depowered as some people call it, it builds up tremendous pressure in here because down inside this shaft right here, there is a piston that builds up pressure going back and forth. So what some people do is they loop the line like this is. This is how it came from the junkyard when I got it, but it builds up pressure and then it kind of gets stiff steering towards the ends, which is not ideal. Some other people also run this up to a reservoir on the firewall in the engine bay and then kind of have it let it vent right there. If you want to do this properly to kind of properly convert it to a manual rack, I'm actually sending this off to a guy that my buddy Catman referred me to, where he disassembles the entire rack, cuts off the piston that is in there that's building up the pressure in there, welds the pinion in there, and then takes this apart, greases everything properly, puts it all back together, seals off these little ports right here because we're going to be removing these hard lines since there's no more hydraulic fluid going in there. And then that's basically it, and it's ready to use as a properly depowered manual steering rack with that nice lower Integra rack ratio. So the first step in getting this ready to ship off to the guy that's going to depower this is taking these inner tie rods out. There is this big nut right here that we're going to use a crescent wrench to hold on to, kind of like so. And then I'm going to take another crescent wrench and put it on this kind of knuckle, which is acting like as a nut on the inner tie rod. And basically, you're just going to crack it loose and then unscrew it from there. Normally, if you had this on a car, they sell this special tool that's kind of like a long tube that has these different adapters that goes on the end, that has a kind of adapter for a socket wrench on the end, and then you crank it that way. But since this is out of the car, this is probably the easiest way to do it. So I'm just going to hold this steady and crack this loose real quick. Okay, that wasn't on there too bad. And then once that is loose, you can kind of just keep unscrewing that guy until we get it all the way off. Boom. And then it is all the way off like that. And now I'll just go and do the same thing to the other side. Now I've got the rack turned around. I got the bigger crescent wrench on this side and the other one on this side. And now I'll just give this a turn and break it. Okay. Now that that's loose, start unscrewing this guy. There we go. And that guy is off as well. Next step is cracking all these 12 millimeter tube nuts for the hydraulic lines. 2 right there, and then 2 right there, since that's going to be completely removed and plugged. Okay, cracked, cracked. 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 And now just undo those guys. Now with those fully loosened, you can see the lines just pull out like that and like so. And now we'll just do these. And our final step is removing this little looping hose someone installed. And there we go. After all that's been removed, this rack is fully ready to be properly depowered. One last thing I'll do before I ship this out is I'll try to let all this extra power steering fluid that's in there drain out, just so that way it doesn't make a mess. And of course, I'll wrap this so it's all contained and doesn't soak into the box during shipping. Anyways, that is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.